Hey everybody, how's it going? Happy April 6th. I hope everyone had a good weekend. Welcome to Concept Sketching class. This is the beginning of assignment 6 out of 7. And based on the image that you're seeing, we are going to be doing something pretty exciting for this assignment. So this is going to be the chair design project. Let's see, before getting too far into that, let's make sure that you guys have assignment 5, the handle object, in your Google Drive folder. That would be great. Hopefully you've also seen by now that all of the assignments, assignment 4 has been graded. So hopefully you got a chance to take a look at that, to see that feedback and try and incorporate it. Cool. Okay, I'm super excited. So we're just gonna jump right in. So we'll talk about this assignment first. So this chair design project is the second to last one. We're almost done with the semester already, which is not surprising, but also crazy at the same time because time just flies. It is due Monday, April 27th. So again, we're following the same format where it's going to be due on a Monday. This time you get 3 weeks for it, which is really cool. And then the only other difference is that you also are going to be turning in 1 additional page than what you normally would, which really isn't a ton. So you'll have 2 pages of perspective sketches and then 2 pages of ideation. So I'm going to jump over to the document. Okay, let's check this out. So chair design, assignment 6. Page 1 is going to be 2 different perspective sketches on 1 full 11 by 17 inch page. Page 2 will also be 2 perspective sketches, showing other views of your furniture than the first page. So basically, you're going to be drawing 4 perspective views total on 2 pages, and all of them need to be different. Pages 3 and 4 are ideation, so you guys have seen that before, nothing new there. And this one, don't feel obligated to have complex surfaces, like what we talked about with like spheres and other stuff like that. One of the things that would really like to emphasize is that your 2 sketch views may utilize different vanishing points. That's a really good, cool way to explore some different compositions. Pay attention to the overall composition, blah, blah, blah. Exploded views, yeah, we're gonna go over that. Obviously we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 demos this time because it's 3 weeks, so we will go over that. And then we'll talk just a tiny bit about like assembly and construction and stuff. Okay, references. We're gonna go more in depth into this in a bit, but Pinterest is great. Unfortunately, I don't have listed on here Behance. That's BEHANCE.net is wonderful. It's an Adobe product or website, essentially. Wonderful stuff on there. Designer, furniture makers, retailers, books, catalogs, inspiration. Again, use these as inspiration. Do not copy anything. Obviously, with like Ellie and I grading these, me being like in the design industry, I have a pretty strong understanding of the stuff that's out on the market and everything with like the amount of like research that I do for work. So do not copy anything because that would be really bad. And you guys are totally capable of coming up with your own stuff. Like seriously, you are all plenty creative enough and there's so much opportunity. So yeah. Yep, so just like before, please start with the ideation sketches to develop your idea and explore where you want to go. Use your good line weights like we've talked about. And then the soliciting input from your classmates, we are going to be talking about that a little bit later. And then constructive criticism, yeah, we'll get to that. Okay, third assignment, that's not supposed to say third assignment. 6th assignment, 10-point scale. Use the same tools that we've been using. Blah, 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 print your name, extra pages, da-da-da, ignore that October. Okay. And then, all right, cool. I think that's everything. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment either on the YouTube video or send an email, all the normal channels. Okay. let's jump back in. So there is assignment 6 out of 7. Again, can't believe we're almost done. So our agenda for today, for this video, this presentation, is we already kind of intro the chair design project. I'm going to lecture for a bit. I'm going to talk briefly about how potato chips are the devil, according to everyone, since at least 2016, at a minimum. We're going to talk about how to design a chair very lightly. We're going to go like surface deep. And then we're also going to do a demo on constructing a desk chair. Sweet. Okay. So this image is really low quality. I had to reduce the file size to get it onto Google Drive and Canvas and whatnot. But there is a higher resolution image of this picture that you're seeing on Canvas under reference materials, I think on the homepage, so you guys can go check that out. I'm putting this on here because a lot of you guys that had drawn buttons, panels, and other like interaction interfaces, on your products were having a tough time seeing and properly executing those panels, buttons, etc. in perspective. So I added this page just for you guys to see what it looks like when you extrude or put circular or elliptical buttons and other elements on a cylindrical surface. And so like if you look here, like the circle that's been cut into the main cylinder looks kind of like a potato chip. So that's why we say potato chips. We are calling those potato chips, and they're the devil because they are very, very difficult to draw. We can actually demo that today. I can't ask you guys, don't let me forget to draw a potato chip, but I'll try and remember to do that right now. Okay, make a little note. Yep, so again, here is how you extrude circles and how you extrude squares or rectangular prisms, cubes, out from cylindrical surfaces. So basically, like looking at like these guys specifically, you need to make sure that the edges of that panel follow in an elliptical, basically like not pattern, but shape. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. I put this on here and on Canvas for you guys to reference. That way, if, like let's say you're doing your chair and there's, maybe like 2 pieces of wood or metal, or there's a screw or fastener that comes out from a chair leg or an element. I want to make sure that you guys understand properly how to execute those things. So here's just a reference to basically like double check your work and make sure that it's right. Okay, so here's a really quick, very, very, again, surface level. I'm not going to go super deep on this because this is just a drawing class and not like a full-on design studio class. But these are things to kind of just noodle on, think about if you really want to like take off and have some fun with this project. So real quick, I think we kind of touched on some of these things at the beginning of the semester. So everything comes full circle. We're talking about it again. But aesthetics, Google defines as a set of principles underlying and guiding the work of a particular artist or artistic movement. And I just added onto that our product. So again, like talking about principles, those could be like materials, that could be form, that could be a whole like slew of different things, but they guide the work of like any basically artistic or design related work. Like if you think about, like the parts of the 90s, like denim was super big. I know like denim's kind of coming back now, but you could say that like an underlying principle of the 90s fashion trends was denim, or like you could, say that that's like an aesthetic principle. Function, something that's also important for us to think about, is defined by Google as practical use, and I've just added benefit. So basically, it's anything that a product inherently does that's not for aesthetic value, but actually has function. And we know that like the design geez, it's escaping me. The 10 principles of good design say that good design is functional. Should actually probably take a look at that. I'm gonna write that down too. 10 principles of design. And that's Dieter Rams. Okay. Maybe we'll go into that next time. Okay. Lastly, ergonomics. So this definition is kind of tough, but the study of people's efficiency in their working environment. There's a whole industry called industrial engineering, which looks at how like people flow through systems and how to optimize and make it better. In design and especially furniture, ergonomics is kind of about how like people and objects interact physically, like their bodies, also called human factors, but basically how are things like comfortable for the right person or people. That's kind of a loose term, but I think that's like surface level enough to just get you guys like started, and if you wanted to go down the rabbit hole, you guys could totally do that on your own. Okay, so let's talk about some other just like quick elements of design from like the very high level. So, and again, like these are not things that you guys have to think about for this project. These are just things that like, you know, if you were to go further into your own project, or if you are on track to becoming a designer, these are things that you will explore in your career, hopefully. So just some things like, you know, the function. What is it for? Is your product for, or your chair for working, resting, eating, exercise, etc.? In terms of sustainability, like what is the end of life of your product? Do you want it to go to the landfill? Do you want it to be recyclable? Do you want it to be compostable? On the other side of sustainability, so instead of materials, thinking about like ethical things, like is it responsibly sourced? Were the people paid well? Is it accessible in terms of price? So these are all things that we as like working professional designers really do have some like power or influence in. And then in some places, you know, like if you were to get consulted for like a small business or like a startup, like these are huge, right? Like you're gonna have a lot of like impact on their products. An emerging thing that's gaining popularity is called biomimicry, if you guys haven't heard about that. So is your product biomimetic? What are your aesthetic inspirations? Is it from like a movie? Like are you basing your chair off of a film or a TV show, a book, a song, those kind of things? Is it inspired by other objects? Is it inspired by a time period? Like I brought up like the 90s and denim. Like are you making a chair that's covered in denim? Is your chair human designed, AI designed, or both? So that gets into the realm of like computational design, something that's really interesting, that's getting really big right now. There are like race cars being designed with AI that are really neat. Those are fun to check out. Going back to the subject of ergonomics, who is it for? Is it for adults? Is it for kids? Is it for a large spectrum of people? Is your chair minimal or is it maximal? And then some of the like minor considerations: is it designed for indoor, outdoor? Is it designed to be on a space station or a rocket ship? Like these are the, like you know, you guys can like, you have all the basically like creativity opportunity for that. So if you want to go deep again, you can think about some of these questions. Additionally, if you just needed these as kind of like a thought starter or like something to sort of guide your process, where if you were feeling like lost or overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, I don't know what kind of chair I want to design, these are just some questions to sort of get your brain moving. Okay, so again, this slide was to talk about design at like a very high level. It's kind of hard to explain, but there are some people in the design industry that would call this design with a capital D. So it's kind of like the more philosophical, the more like traditional, like I don't know exactly how to describe it. So on the other end of the spectrum, we call it design with a lowercase d. Oops, my bad. Or design as a verb. And so this is a look into the design process. So if you are on track to becoming a designer, or you're someone who just wants to explore like what is industrial design, product design, what is design thinking, and you want to like dabble in it a little bit, here's a different approach that you could take to starting with some of these questions. And it would be to follow the design process. I think I might have said this at the beginning of the semester, but the design process, design thinking, is like an adapted version of the scientific method. So the first steps would be to discover everything you can about chairs, ask people about their experience, ask an expert, someone who sits all day, what about their experience was negative. You could look up emerging research on like what is actually good for people's backs. You could ask people about their preferences, like what is the best chair that they've ever interacted with and why. But the whole intention behind this is to learn everything you can about chairs, and then start synthesizing that research into a design. So sketch, ask for feedback, repeat. Do that over and over again. And that's where that iterative sketching is really, really imperative. So, imagine you did 10 thumbnail sketches. You asked a rando and be like, hey, which one of these chairs do you like or think would be functional or useful or beneficial to you in your life? And then they give you feedback, and then you draw 10 more, and you do the same thing, and you draw 10 more, and you do the same thing, and you draw 10 more, and you do the same thing. Hopefully, oh my gosh, that gained a chuckle or two. This is the stuff that I find really engaging. So hopefully it's more like exciting for you guys, because it's also exciting for me. And then lastly, the third phase of the design process or design thinking is to develop. That's not really relevant in this class. I've talked about it a little bit before, but that would be, like make a CAD model, render it, like make a model, prototype, those kind of things. But we're not going to go into that. So you guys can focus on the discover and design phase if you want to. You're not going to get any kind of extra credit or anything. But because this is within the design course, I love design, and just to give you guys a little preview. Yeah. So some things to think about. Okay, that went a lot faster than I anticipated, but we are going to be sketching a chair. We're going to be sketching a desk chair. So I actually forgot to get some of these things ready. Okay, so this is the chair that we're going to be sketching. It's an IKEA product. I'm actually sitting on it right now. And we're largely going to be looking at how to construct this thing. Okay, I think I actually have a few photos. Yeah, okay. So here are the wheels. You can see that the bars that extend to the wheels have a rectangular prism form, and then they're rounded on top. The wheels have this really interesting shape. Maybe we can, ooh, I almost forgot, you guys. We're gonna draw a potato chip first. I'm so glad I remembered. Okay, let's draw a potato chip real quick. So if you guys could follow along, that'd be wonderful. Potato chips are really strange, but useful too, because there's obviously a lot of forms like this that exist, especially on kitchen products like you guys learned previously. So the first thing that you're going to do is set up a cylinder, like so. Okay, mine's not perfect, but that's all right for this quick demo. The next thing that you're going to want to do is to find some reference points. So again, let's just imagine for a second that that was actually kind of rough. Okay, that feels better. Find our center, make sure we're accurate. Okay, so I can say here's these references. Okay, so now we have all of our references set up for us to make our potato chip. So a potato chip touches this top cylinder and this bottom cylinder at 2 points each. So let's say this is where our potato chip touches on one point. This will be where it touches on the other. And then on the bottom cylinder, it'll touch here and here. So basically, all we have to do is draw some very swoopy lines that connect these points. So here we go. Oh, and we want these points to be tangent. So here's my tangent line. There's my tangent line. Then my tangent line's already drawn there. This one and there. Okay. So here we go. Maybe a little bit more. Yep. Same thing over here. That will almost be like, almost look like a circle. Actually, I think it needs to get a little flatter down here. Yep. Okay, and there's already half of it. Now this is where it gets a little bit more tricky, because this curve is pretty funky. Okay, and then last but not least, okay, I'm going to draw kind of the start and the finish first, and then that gives me a pretty good idea of where I need to aim. Boom. And there's our potato chip. I'm going to go over it a little darker, maybe darker than that. Cool. And then our drop shadow would just be a circle. These lines are really long. Come out over here too. Boom. Potato chip. So now, what would those surface lines look like? I'm going to reduce this just so you guys can see. It would look probably something like and then this one, and across. Something kind of like that, I believe. Yep. Okay. There you go. There's your potato chip. And so again, this is relevant because if you had, a cylinder of a face of something, and then you wanted to extrude a button off of it, you could say like, maybe something like that. And then, let's see, where's my center? About there. And there's my button. And there's my potato chip. Oops. Sweet. There we go. Now let's jump over to our desk chair. Whoop. Come on. Okay. Oh, shoot. Did I save? I meant to save. What's over here? No. All right, so I would break down a desk chair into basically 3 parts to get started with. I would say that the base, the wheels, and that whole assembly of like the bars that go to the wheels that go to the cylinder where it connects is kind of like a rectangular prism. So I'm gonna start there. Might be a little bit big actually. Okay, here's my base. Now I'm gonna find the center. And then from here, this is the center of my shape. So I'm gonna clean this up just a little bit because I want to make sure that I don't get confused later on. Now, okay, so I have already taken a look at the, they do give some like, some orthographic projections of this with the measurements. So I know that the seat is actually smaller than the overall width of this, of the bars at the bottom that the wheels connect to. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna bring that in a bit. Like so. Okay, and now I'm going to say here is the bottom of the seat. Something kind of like that. Okay. Oh yeah, and if I didn't already mention, I would like for you guys to be following along, practicing how to draw this, wow, this dress. Holy cow. So excited I can't speak. Okay. So, so now we've drawn the base, and now we have the seat. Now the back is a little bit interesting. So again, I've seen the orthographic views. If you guys are drawing a chair, you will have an idea of how this goes. But this back is actually a little further away. So what I'm trying to say is that the back is not parallel with this edge right here. So we can't just draw a line up and then start building our box there. We actually need to push it back. So I'm gonna find where the center of this is, and it should actually be there. Because this is my center line right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue this just a little bit, and now I'm going to extrude this up and start, oops, that line does not look right. Yeah, that's better. Now I'm going to extrude this box basically to create the back. And I think that the back is a little bit thinner too. So I'm going to imagine that it does not go all the way to the edge. That didn't go right. Okay. So now we're going to go up. And we're going to go up again. Okay. And now give it some space. And we're going to get a lot closer to the horizon line. So we're going to start getting a lot more flat. Like so. Whoops. That didn't feel good. Okay. And boom. Look at that. We've almost got a chair. Now, let's see. I'm going to put in this cylinder. Sorry, I'll turn that. Or I won't use that feature. I think something... Yeah, I feel like that's not too bad. And then this one has 2 cylinders. So now it's going to be a little flatter. I think I made that a little too thick. Let's try that again. Sorry. Yeah, that's better. Okay, sweet. Okay, some things that we can basically do now to give ourselves some references. There are 5 legs on this chair. So, knowing that I have a box created as my base, I'm going to think about a pentagon. It has a point, or I could go and look at a pentagon, like I could just Google what a pentagon looks like, and then essentially like estimate the angles. So I could say, okay, that doesn't actually look that good. But that looks better. So now where would that be inside of a box? Where's the center? You can find the center of your box with our X method. Okay, well, I think those actually need to be a little further down. Maybe like there or there. Okay, so now I can use this as a process of figuring out where my legs are gonna go. So I'm gonna put my first leg that goes, this one, on down here. And I'm gonna say it's right there. That feels pretty good. And then my next ones, you say here's the center line. They're almost like splitting, or meaning halfway here to here. So I can sort of think about that. And I'll do a little estimation there. So maybe there. I feel like they could go a little further out. That feels better. And then last but not least, if this is the middle, they're a little further away. Okay, so maybe here and here, and I'm using an imaginary line like this. So I'll connect these like so. Okay. I think that'll be okay. All right, and another thing, now we need to turn these reference lines are kind of like the center line on this like slightly darker gray part that's rounded. That's the middle. So this would be the middle. Like so. So now I'm not going to use this line as a reference because that's not correct. I'm actually going to make this I'm going to make this perpendicular to this line. So, like that. And unfortunately, I'm not exactly sure how to describe to you that there's a 90-degree angle there. I wish I had a better explanation for that. I apologize because I don't. Oops. Hold on. What you doing? Google why you do this. All right, let's get rid of you for a second. Oh boy. Okay. Thank you. I'm sure some of you are rolling your eyes because you know how to do this and I'm royally messing this up. Okay. So, again, going back to, we're going to make this perpendicular. So let's turn this line into a rectangular prism. Boom. And now we'll do that with the others as well. So imagine there's a perpendicular reference line there and there. Extrude this down. That line that we just made will intersect. Same thing over here. Perpendicular, perpendicular, perpendicular. Oops. Next, this one. Oops, that's not one. This is easy. Oops, let me start from back there. Yep. Okay. Boom, boom. And down. Awesome. This one didn't, that one looks like it didn't turn out quite right. Now why is that? I think I maybe just messed up this line here, which is why it looks so tall. That feels better. Okay. What can we do next? Let's talk about these wheels for a second. Why aren't you working? Okay. How would you draw just the wheels? So, just draw a quick box. Okay. So, I would say we start by finding our middle, like that. This line kind of represents where that outer shell stops on the left side. And then we know that there is an ellipse like so. And then that comes over there. Okay, and then there's an ellipse here. It's actually a really cool shape. Oh, no, see, that's not right, because we can see based on the image that this wall comes up this way. So we actually need to extend this that way. So we can undo that. Okay. And I'll just drag this line up, and I'll use that as a reference for how far out that's supposed to go. Okay. Now give this material some thickness. And then another ellipse here. You guys are probably wondering why, or have wondered why in the past, why my lines are so, like, squiggly. If you've never drawn on a digital drawing thing before, it's very slippery. And so, like, you guys have seen me do before, where I can adjust the settings and make it streamlined, where, like, it fixes my lines for me. That makes it look like the surface is less slippery. But this does give me some good control when I don't have that turned on. And then let's extrude that. Okay. And then it looks like there's probably an ellipse right there where the cylinder, the metal part, goes in. Something like that. Okay, so that's how you would draw that wheel part, or at least how I would do it. Are those wheels have two pieces? Maybe they do. So maybe it's like, oh, that's bad. Maybe something kind of like that. Anyways, okay, so there's how you draw the wheels. How would we do, I'm going to show you how we would do one of those wheels. So essentially I would just use this line as a reference, and then basically build my box underneath there. And then do the same thing that we did before. Okay, that's actually not good. Sorry. Let's start a different way. Let's use that line basically as the center. And do our best to make the box. My box is a little fat, a little too squat. Okay, like that. And then I would go about the same processes that we went through here to do this. So, same thing. You know, all that jazz. So, don't do what I just did. That's not acceptable. I believe in you guys. You can do better. Okay. So, there's that. What else could we do? Okay, let's look at the seat for a second. Oh no, it did the thing. Damn it. Okay. Bye-bye. Go away. Sorry guys, I know this is frustrating to watch. What the heck? Can we just go about it like this? Yes. Okay. So we know that this, if we're looking at this front edge right here, that it's curved. So I'm actually going to add material. So I could draw a line like this and subtract material, I'm gonna add material, so I'll pull this out, pull that out, draw another line as a reference, use these as my starting points, and then I know my center is here, so I gotta be tangent there, and boom. No, I don't like that. Yeah, that feels better. Do the same thing down there. Cool. And then the back's probably rounded too. I will subtract material. There's our center. Subtracting material. Boom. There's that edge. Okay. I will subtract material from this one. Boom. This one's a little bit more dramatic. Boom. Oops. Okay. That ended up looking a little bit smaller than I would have preferred, but that's okay. Oh, actually, you know what? Taking a look at it, it almost looks as if it actually comes out a little bit. Do you see that? That's an easy fix. Let's just fudge that a little bit. Whoosh, whoosh. Looks, well, doesn't look super nice, but looks a little bit better. Okay. Okay. Now let's go into, I'm going to drop that down. Let's look at this interesting part at the bottom. Okay. So I'm going to say here is one of our rectangular prisms. I'm actually going to add the cylindrical part on top. So now this will come out like so. There will be a cylinder here. That'll come in like that. Boom. Boom. And then there's that little like cappy part where it changes material. So I'll put 2 lines there for that material change. And that is a radius line. Oops. Okay, that comes down. Then we can put a service line in there for reference. And then these would actually not be seen. Okay. Cool. So that's how I would go about doing that. Now, those fit into this other part. So if there's the top, you know what, these might actually need to be cut a little further away, like so, to make room for the part that they fit into. There'd be another ellipse here, so that adds material there. And then that comes out like that. And then this one, if we were to, oh, okay, one thing that I forgot about, this needs to be pushed a little further back. Yeah, see that? That's good. maybe even a little further on this one. Really, really skinny ellipse there. And then that will go like that. That goes there. And then we won't see that anymore. There's that ellipse. That looks a little tall, actually. Okay, so why does that look tall? One thing that I can do is I can use another ellipse as a reference of how high they should be. So there's my ellipse height. That's why that looked so tall. I was guessing instead of measuring. And then we won't see that anymore. Okay, so that's how I would start that bottom assembly. It looks like there is like a little face there. So that would need another edge before this comes up. Okay, so there's how you could construct that part. And then if you look really carefully, it looks like there's another like cylinder at the bottom. Something like that will do for now. So they're supposed to be rounded too, based on that close-up. Okay. Now we kind of have done everything that I think you guys need to see with the bottom portion. So let's think about the top. Okay, we've got these really interesting, this like white metal part that goes all the way around. So we know that there's space in between the metal white part and the orange fabric. So I'm gonna say, here's a plane, and there's an ellipse in here, and that represents a cross section of that white part. Now, because it's so organic, you're gonna have some creative liberty here, and all we need to know is that it pretty much touches there, touches here, and then follows the bottom profile there. Okay, so let's just take a crack at it. Basically, it's gonna follow like so, come down, and then it looks almost like it comes back a little bit, and then turns in. And we need to aim down there. And now let's give it some thickness. Now this is a good opportunity to say how thick should that be. I almost feel like my first ellipse was a little too big. Let's bring that down. Now let's take a look. Yeah, that looks closer to what it should be. And this line should really just be an offset. You can basically just follow it. Follow your first line. Ooh, no, see how I'm getting like way too big. Make sure to stay a consistent distance away. Nice. Okay, and then I'll just basically mirror that on the other side, taking into consideration that it probably goes a little bit behind the orange fabric part from this perspective. There's that edge. Make it come back a little. And then I think that's probably going to disappear behind there. Keep in mind that it'll look a little bit thinner on the left side because it's further away. Now let's wrap this around. And because it dips below. Cool. Okay, and I think this seat, if you look really closely, it goes up a bit. So I'm gonna add a little bit of mass, make it look nice and comfy. Nice and ergonomic. Cool. Let's see, what else have we not gone over? Looks like there's some little like potato chips in there. Leading edge lines on the front towards us. Okay, and then you guys will just have to have fun with your surface lines here. Something maybe like that. And this one, maybe something like this. And maybe something like that. Cool. Not the best sketch in the world by any means, but also not super bad. I think I may have made this line here a little too long. It almost looks like this whole group of things needs to be a little bit closer this way to our center line. That's okay. And then I think some of my surface lines are actually a little wonky. But you guys will have time to make yours nice and good. Okay, cool. There's our chair sketch, our first chair sketch for the chair design project. I think that's all I have for today. Yeah, looking forward to seeing your guys' handle object assignments.